So we're talking about the Phillies. We have not talked about your Philadelphia Eagles yet in the draft. It's not exactly on us yet. We're in the speculation view, but today they're talking about the tight ends. There's a couple tight ends that are going to be there. Now, if you're not going to sign Goddard, don't you have to take a tight end?
At some point, you're going to have to take a tight end. I don't know if they'll do it at 32, but do they do it in the second round at 64? Like, you really like Harold Fannin from Bowling Green.
I like Harold Fannin a lot.
He may be there in the second round. You may not have to take him that early. Like, he's not a first-round pick.
Now, there's the kid from Michigan who's considered the number 2 tight end in the class.
Is that Loveland?
Yeah, that's a Loveland from Michigan, Colson Loveland. If he's there at 32, he has that's a bargain. Was he supposed to be taken before that?
I'm looking here. Like, Fannin, I'm seeing, has a 3rd or 4th round projection.
Yeah, a kid from Miami, Arroyo, is in the mix. Mason
Loveland.
Taylor, who is Jason Taylor's son.
Yes, Joy Taylor's
Joy
nephew.
Taylor's, yeah.
Mason Taylor is a guy that could also be there in the second round. Now, I don't know if you'd have to move up in the second round to get him. But that's Andrew DeCecco, who for some reason is going to the baseball game with Ray, and we're not. But Andrew DeCecco loves this Mason Taylor. Loves him. He says he's one of the. He thinks he's the highest rated tight end in the draft, second to Tyler Warren. But Tyler Warren's a lot older.
How big is Mason Taylor?
I think he's a big dude. Hold on,
6'5", 251. Now
Yeah.
Fannin's a little undersized, so maybe they would look for, because they already got Calcaterra, so maybe Fannin doesn't fit. But I thought that guy had really good ball skills. I watched him a few times this year, actually.
Yeah, good ball skills. It'll be interesting to see. And one of the age-old questions, and Andrew filled in for you on Friday that we brought up, and you mentioned this a little earlier, is do the Eagles draft best player available, which you always hear is what you should do in the draft, or do they go need? And I look at this Eagles team. Normally, I'm a big proponent, best player available. But when you look at an Eagles team who's attempting to repeat as Super Bowl champs, and they clearly have a roster that's very good, but they have some needs, I don't think you go best player available necessarily. I think certain positions you do, but you eliminate, like you're not taking a quarterback. I don't want to see them take a wide receiver at 32, even though I've seen that floated. I would not want to see them go wide receiver.
The best player available might be the position of need.
Well, that's what you got to hope.
The Goddard thing has thrown a loop into this because I really wasn't expecting that. But it looks like they are cutting ties. You need to replace him. Calcaterra, I mean, he's nice, but you need to fortify that position with a guy that's going to be your future tight end.
You're right, but at 32, I'd much rather see them go on the defensive side of the ball. Like, if one of these safeties is there, like this Malachi Starks from Georgia would make a lot of sense. A lot of people like the dude from South Carolina. I just don't know if he'll be there, that Mowry. You got Xavier Watts, Jalen Reed. They may be there in the second round, too. But I would, if you could get Malachi Starks at the bottom of the first round, that'd be awesome. If not, I'd like to see them maybe go defensive tackle, because I think your defensive tackle room is a little light with letting Milton Williams go. Could they go edge rusher? Also, don't be surprised. I know this is going to get Ray angry. Don't be surprised if they go offensive line in the first round. And yeah. I know Ray did a whole show the other day about how angry he was going to be if I don't think Ray's listening to us. Look, he hasn't looked up.
No.
Look, he's not listening.
No, I'm leaning back in my chair, annoyed. That's what I'm doing.
He's annoyed.
I'm listening.
But, yeah, don't be surprised if they go offensive line.
Yeah.
Because, Mike, one of the things from last season, a lot of people know they let Mekhi Becton walk, but I think the under-the-radar loss was Fred Johnson. Mm-hmm. Fred Johnson's their swing tackle. He played, I think he started 6 or 7 games last year. You're going to need some depth along the offensive line, and they just don't have it. So if you could get an offensive lineman at 32, that could be either a swing tackle, can be Lane Johnson's replacement in a couple years. Don't be surprised if they do that.
Yeah, let me ask you this question, because you said you don't want a wide receiver. But to me, you could upgrade Dotson. And the guy who upgrades Dotson is the kid from Missouri. Luther Burden III. Tremendous slot receiver, 6 foot 206. Perfect slot man.
Luther Burden. Now, I'm looking, he's got a second-round grade on him. Now, 32 is essentially like you're taking in the second round.
Yeah.
I just look at this team, and I would say that you talk about Jahan Dotson and it being an upgrade. I keep saying this. You had the 29th ranked passing offense last year. So how much is your third wide receiver going to give you anyway?
Future, brother. Future.
Well, you still got AJ and Devontae.
Yeah,
up.
but it's, future in the slot. That guy can be a slot receiver for a lot of years.
Possible. And then what are you doing with Dotson?
Yeah.
I think he's in the last year of his rookie deal anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about him. And it's hard for me to say that being a Penn Stater, but he doesn't twist me.
But if you're talking about need, though, if you're on the clock at 32, you got a lot more pressing needs than wide receiver. Like, if we're getting a third slot wide receiver and there's guys like Malachi Stark still on the board, or you could get a really good defensive tackle or even an edge rusher, I'd much rather see them go that route than bring in a wide receiver. But we'll see. But you talk about, like, there's such a lack of buzz for the draft this year. And I think it's because they're picking 32. It's hard to know. Like, if you're in the top 15, you can kind of project, like, oh, this guy will be available. This guy will be available. At 32, there's like 50 guys that could potentially be there. They may trade out. They may trade up. It's too unpredictable. I think that's why people aren't as into it as they have been in previous years.
Yeah, it could be right. All right, let's go back to the text board, right? What are they saying?
All right, people jumping in on the Phillies. The big picture is the complacency of the entire Phillies team. Failure to react by both JT and or Thompson, and the passive team is the problem. Any reaction could have sparked and inspired better team baseball. This is a long season.
Yeah. All right.
As we're talking football, what do you think Sirianni would have done in that situation? I think
Suspension.
Sirianni would have got suspended. Like, we get on Sirianni for being too emotional, and we get on Rob Thompson for having no emotion. Maybe they need to talk and meet somewhere in the middle. And
Different
we'll be all right.
sports, my friend.
I know. I'm
Different
kidding around.
Sports.
But Thompson needed to react. We all agree.
Yeah.
And then it compounded it by when you get out of commercial and you see him on the field thinking, all right, he is reacting, and they're just talking about the lights. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. What was Castellano doing with that umpire there between innings?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? And he said something into his microphone. He knew he was mic'd up. He had a conversation before he on his way to right field. You see that, Ray?
I saw him talking to the mic, which I was confused about. I don't know what he was doing. I didn't get any answer on that.
He was feeling good about himself. You can tell when Castellanos feeling good about himself.
Well, he had a great week. He had a great weekend too.
Yeah, he had a smash last night. That was
It was a Titanic blast, some would say.
A hanger, and he railed it. Yeah,
it's a Titanic blast.
Yeah, what is
that's coming up at the news?
This guy.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, Ray's getting mad.
This is the second time today he's tried to just throw the news at noon before the news at noon happens.
He just gave a good tease for it, though.
Yeah,
what could it possibly be?
What could I mean here, Ray?
Yeah, but usually when you do it, I don't think you're about to tease. I think you're about to just drop into it.
No, we got a great news at noon coming up.
What happened to our man Chris in Bucks County? Chris, you dropped off. Come on, Chris. We're going to get to you. You know, you got to have a little patience here. We got some stuff to talk about.
Talking about patience, new system's got to be coming soon, right? New phone system.
I just looked at my my seat for Thursday. Section 114. That's not bad.
What is that?
First baseline.
You're sitting first base?
First baseline.
Section 114.
114.
Oh, yeah, you're okay. You're in foul ball territory over there.
It is foul ball territory.
Where are you sitting, though? What row?
I don't know if the row's any good.
You way up there?
24.
That's not a bad view of the game, though. From right there. That's basically
it's
when the Phillies won the 2008 World Series, when Brad Lidge struck them out. I was standing right behind, I think, section 116.
I always get to when I sit in seats like this. It's like, Mikey Miss, you don't have any clout? No.
Well, then you just say, look up at the 300 level. That's where my producer's at. I'm at least here.
610-632-0975. Back after this.
Hey, everybody, it's Bill Colarulo. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you can engage during the show, and you're not going to want to miss all the content that we post. It's not only the live videos. It's videos after the fact. It's our shorts. It's all the content you want as a Philadelphia sports fan. Looking forward to connecting.